You know the love story. A woman dies, she returns as a ghost, she can't let go. Tragic, beautiful, emotional. Episode 1 showed you the legend, the shrine, and the believers. But now, let's talk about what you didn't see, what Mae Nak really means. In 1942, Thailand's military dictator published an article threatening his critics. He wrote, "Criticize my government, and the ghost of Mae Nak will come for you." He wasn't joking, he meant it as a weapon. That iconic horror image, the stretching arm, it's propaganda, teaching women to serve their families. The monk defeating the ghost, that's Buddhism crushing women's religion. The story itself, it's coded protest against military conscription. Thailand has remade this story 32 times across a century, not because they love it, but because they need it. Each version reveals what that generation fears most. This is what Mae Nak is really about, and once you see it, you'll never look at folklore the same way again. Last episode gave you the emotional story, the shrine, the belief, the love that survives death. This episode gives you the analysis, the hidden meanings, the cultural archaeology. Research from Thai universities consistently documents patterns in how this legend evolved across generations. Modern folklore studies reveal layers of meaning that casual observers miss entirely. Before we dive into new territory, let's acknowledge what's already been said, because if you've watched other English videos about Mae Nak, you've heard certain interpretations. They're valid, but they're incomplete. Let me show you what's been missing. If you've seen other Mae Nak content in English, you know the standard reading, Mae Nak as the ultimate love story. Love so strong it survives death itself. A ghost driven by grief and devotion, not pure evil. This taps into a universal theme. We all fear losing the people we love. This interpretation is completely valid. The emotion is real. The love is genuine. That's why episode 1 focused on the emotional journey. But this reading stays on the surface. Most English videos about Mae Nak cover certain angles, psychological explanations, why ghost stories resonate emotionally, residual haunting theory, high emotion creates spiritual imprints, film analysis, especially how PMOC's comedy version succeeded with audiences. Some mention the shrine as a tourist and religious site. A few note the skeptical view. Maybe the ghost was invented to protect an inheritance. All interesting observations, all worth discussing. Western creators do good work exploring these angles, but they're missing entire dimensions. What English coverage almost never discusses, the political dimension. Why a dictator weaponized this ghost. The gender ideology encoded in the story. What devoted wife really means. The religious war playing out symbolically. Which belief system wins and why. Why Thailand remakes this specific story 32 times, what the pattern reveals. That's because these interpretations require access to Thai academic sources, Thai language scholarship on folklore and politics, understanding of Thai military history and social tensions, knowledge of Buddhist animist religious dynamics. Most English creators don't have that access. We do. So let's go where English coverage hasn't gone before. 3 secrets have been hidden in plain sight for 150 years. Secrets that Thai scholars understand, but English audiences don't. Secret 1. Mae Nak is ideal wife propaganda. Even as a ghost, she cooks, cleans, and cares for her child. What does this teach Thai women about their role? Secret 2. Mae Nak is coded protest against military conscription. The state takes the husband. The woman dies. Who's really guilty? Secret 3. Mae Nak encodes a religious war. Powerful female spirit versus male Buddhist authority. Who wins tells you everything about power in Thailand. Let's examine each secret in detail. First secret. Mae Nak teaches women their proper role. This isn't just a love story, it's an instruction manual for being an ideal Thai wife. Look at what Mae Nak does, even as a ghost. She cooks for her husband, she cares for their child, she maintains the household, she waits faithfully for him to return. Death doesn't release her from these duties. If anything, it proves how essential they are. That's the message. A good wife never stops serving. Remember the iconic scene, the stretching arm? Western audiences see a creepy horror image, a great special effect. But look deeper at what's actually happening. Nak is making nam prik, chili paste for her husband's dinner. She's performing her wifely duty, cooking his meal. Then a lime rolls off the table. It falls through a gap in the floorboards, down to the ground below the raised house. Without hesitation, without even standing up, she reaches down. Her arm stretches, longer and longer, through the gap in the floor, down to the earth below. Impossibly long. Her fingers wrap around that lime. That supernatural arm isn't just scary, it's symbolic of how far women are expected to stretch themselves, literally extending her body beyond natural limits to serve her family. The horror comes from making visible what society expects invisibly. Women should stretch impossibly thin for husband and child, sacrifice their bodies, their lives, their very nature, even after death, even when it breaks them. That's what devoted wife really means. Critical question: when does Mae Nak turn dangerous? Not when she dies, she returns peacefully. Not when she's with Mok, she's a loving, devoted wife. Only when he tries to leave her. Only when outsiders threaten to take him away. Only when her status as wife is threatened. The message embedded here is clear. Thai studies scholars at major universities analyze this pattern as ideal wife propaganda. A good wife who stays devoted gets rewarded with peaceful domestic life. A wife who loses her husband becomes a monster, a threat to society. The story threatens women. Your value is completely tied to your man. Lose him and you become something terrible, something that must be destroyed. This isn't about love, it's about control through fear. How does the traditional story end? A powerful female spirit causes chaos. She refuses to obey natural law. Who stops her? A Buddhist monk, male religious authority, specifically Samdet To, one of Thailand's most respected patriarchs. He subdues her, captures her, forces her to peace. In some versions, he takes a piece of her skull, specifically the forehead bone, makes it into a belt buckle, pan neng in Thai, literally wearing her remains as a symbol of dominance, carrying a piece of her body as a talisman of male power. The symbolism is brutal. Female power, no matter how strong, must be contained by male authority. Women can be devoted wives or destroyed threats. No third option exists in the traditional telling. That's the lesson embedded in the legend for 150 years. Here's what makes this complex, not simple propaganda. Mae Nak is terrifying, powerful, unkillable for most of the story. She murders anyone who threatens her happiness. She defies natural law. She refuses to die properly. She refuses to obey. Even monks and spirit doctors can't control her easily. So the story both empowers and constrains women simultaneously. It acknowledges women's power while insisting that power must be controlled. It says, yes, women are powerful, and that's exactly why they're dangerous. This contradiction is what makes Mae Nak endure. She's not simple propaganda. She's a negotiation of deep cultural anxiety about women's power. What happens when women refuse their assigned roles? Answer: chaos, then forced submission. But the chaos part is remembered, feared, and maybe admired. Second secret. Mae Nak is disguised protest against state military power. This reading is completely absent from English coverage, but it's obvious once you see it. Look at the story structure. Who actually causes the tragedy? Not knock, not mock, not bad luck, not even the baby's breech position. The state does. Military conscription tears Mock away from his pregnant wife. The state provides zero support for families left behind. No welfare, no protection, no help. Nak dies directly because the state took the man who could have saved her. Her death is not a natural tragedy, it's policy failure with fatal consequences. This is coded criticism of government policy, wrapped in a ghost story so it can't be censored as political speech. Brilliantly disguised protest. Remember episode 1? What people pray for at Mae Nak's shrine? The single most common request? Help sons avoid the military draft. Young men bring their conscription cards. They place them at her feet. Parents beg, Mae Nak, don't let him be taken like Mock was taken from you. Context: Thailand still has mandatory military service today, right now. Every Thai man age 21 must participate in a draft lottery. Draw a red card, you serve 2 years. Draw a black card, you're exempt. It's random, like gambling with your life. Families pray to Mae Nak for black cards. They're asking a ghost to protect their sons from what killed her, asking her to succeed where she failed. The shrine functions as a site of resistance, supernatural appeal against state power, prayer as protest. This has been happening for over a century. Now here's where it gets absolutely fascinating. December 1st, 1942, documented in newspapers, Sri Krung and Prachachat. Thailand is allied with Japan in World War II. The Prime Minister, Field Marshal Plak Pibun Sangkrom, a military dictator, absolute power. The country faces multiple crises simultaneously: massive flooding, war pressure, public criticism growing. Phibun publishes an article under the pen name Samaki Chai in Thailand's 2 largest newspapers. The article warns people spreading rumors, criticizing the government, and then he invokes Mae Nak directly, his exact words preserved in historical archives. The ghost Nak who haunts Phra Kanang will come to sleep with those who speak inauspiciously. He continues, I'm using Mae Nak as folk medicine, not rational argument. That doesn't work on these people, so I'll use a supernatural threat instead. Let that sink in. A military dictator with absolute power uses a ghost story to silence political opposition. He admits he's doing it because Mae Nak is so culturally powerful that even an authoritarian leader recognizes her as an effective tool of control. This reveals the genius of folklore as resistance. You cannot arrest someone for telling a ghost story, cannot censor it as political speech. It's just entertainment, just superstition, just tradition, legally harmless. But everyone understands the real message. The state takes men, families suffer, women die. The state is responsible for these deaths, and the dead don't forget. The dead come back. Mae Nak's ghost is a revenge fantasy, a woman destroyed by state policy coming back to haunt everyone, not just her husband, the whole society that allowed this to happen. The fact that people still pray about conscription 150 years later tells you these tensions haven't been resolved. The state still takes men, families still suffer. So Mae Nak is still needed, still relevant, still angry. Third secret, Mae Nak encodes a battle between two religions, specifically Buddhism defeating animism. This requires understanding Thai religious history that English audiences rarely get. Before Buddhism arrived in Southeast Asia, around the 3rd century CE, indigenous people practiced animism, belief that spirits inhabit nature, places, animals, and forces. Especially important, female spirits, water spirits, serpent spirits. Nak in Thai actually relates to naga, serpent or dragon. According to the Thai Folklore Archive, Mae Nak's name connects her to ancient serpent spirit worship dating back over 8 centuries. These were often female spirits associated with water, fertility, and childbirth. Powerful feminine forces in the natural world. Then Buddhism arrives, institutional religion, text-based, monk-centered, and crucially, male-dominated. These two systems had to coexist somehow. Thailand's solution? Syncretism, blending both. But that blending involved a power struggle. One religion had to become legitimate. The other had to become superstition. Guess which was which? Anthropologists identify Mae Nak as a matriarchal symbol. She represents an older religious system where women had spiritual authority. A powerful female spirit connected to earth, water, birth, and death, natural cycles, female mysteries. Buddhism in Thailand developed as a patriarchal structure. Monks are men. They hold all religious power. Women cannot become fully ordained monks in Thai Theravada Buddhism. They can be nuns with lower status, but not equal. So when a monk defeats Mae Nak in the traditional story, it's not just good versus evil. It's new religion defeating old religion. Male spiritual authority subduing female spiritual power. A patriarchal system replacing, or at least dominating, a matriarchal one. This pattern happened across Southeast Asia as Buddhism spread. Indigenous female spirit worship got pushed to the margins, labeled superstition versus real religion. But notice, it never fully disappeared, because people still needed it, still believed in it, just had to practice it quietly alongside Buddhism. Want evidence this religious tension continues right now? Look at any building in Thailand, any house, business, or government office. You'll see a small structure outside, a spirit house, San Phra Pum, a miniature house for land spirits, guardian spirits. This is animist practice surviving alongside Buddhism, not instead of Buddhism, alongside it. Thai people go to Buddhist temples on holy days, and they make daily offerings to spirit houses. They're not choosing one religion, they're practicing both simultaneously. Mae Nak's shrine functions exactly the same way. It's located on Buddhist temple grounds, Wat Mahabut, but people pray to a ghost, not to Buddha, not to monks, to a female spirit. That old religious system never actually died. It just had to make space for the new one, and the new one had to tolerate the old one. Uneasy coexistence, encoded in Mae Nak's legend. These three secrets overlap. They're not separate issues. All about power, gender power, state power, religious power. Mae Nak sits at the exact intersection of Thailand's deepest tensions. The story helps society negotiate conflicts it cannot resolve directly, cannot openly challenge military conscription, pray to the ghost instead, cannot restore matriarchal religion, keep female spirits powerful in the margins, cannot reject ideal wife ideology, but make those ideal wives terrifying. This is sophisticated cultural negotiation, not primitive superstition. The story says things Thailand needs to say but cannot say directly. It's been doing this for 150 years, will continue as long as these tensions remain unresolved. So, those are the hidden meanings embedded in the original legend from the 1870s. Gender control, political resistance, religious conflict. But the story doesn't stay frozen in the past. It gets remade, reimagined, reinterpreted 32 times across nearly a century. And here's what's brilliant about studying these remakes. Each one emphasizes different aspects depending on when it's made. Films function as snapshots of Thai society at that moment. Want to know what Thailand feared in 1959? Watch that Mae Nak. Want to know what Thailand hoped for in 1999? Watch that version. Want to understand Thailand in 2013? Watch Mak. This is cultural analysis becoming cultural archaeology. We're not just analyzing a story, we're excavating layers of meaning that built up over time. Let's track the evolution. First major Mae Nak film, 1959, directed by Sene Komorachun, Sene Komorachun. Historical context, Thailand rebuilding after World War II. Society recovering from chaos, seeking stability and order. Traditional structures had been disrupted. They needed reinforcement. This version emphasizes traditional values, clear moral lessons, respect for authority. Mae Nak is portrayed as a genuinely dangerous ghost, a threat to social order that must be subdued. Mak's primary duty is to society, not to his dead wife. The monk represents legitimate authority restoring proper order. Box office records show it became the first Thai film to earn over 1 million baht, a massive success that cinema historians documented as the fastest to reach this milestone. This tells you the audience desperately wanted this message. After the war's disruption, society craved reinforcement of traditional structure. Clear rules, clear authorities, clear gender roles. Mae Nak gave them exactly that. The terror of disorder, the comfort of restoration. Jump forward 40 years, 1999. Director Nanzi Nan Tri Nimibut, creates Nong Nak. Historical context, the 1997 Asian financial crisis devastated Thailand. The economy collapsed overnight. People lost their life savings. The middle class was wiped out. Businesses went bankrupt. Suicide rates spiked. This version revolutionizes the legend completely. It doesn't focus on horror, it focuses on love. Mae Nak becomes a sympathetic protagonist, not a villain. Beautiful cinematography, art film aesthetic, international festival style. It emphasizes eternal love that survives any disaster. Film industry records document box office earnings of 149.6 million baht, the first Thai film in history to break 100 million. International Film Festival recognition, critical acclaim. It became a cultural phenomenon. Why did this version succeed during an economic crisis? When people lose money, jobs, homes, and security, everything material, they need to believe something is eternal. Something survives even when everything else is destroyed. The answer? Love. Another jump. 2013. Director Banjang Pasanthanagakun creates Mak Prakanong. Historical context, political instability, street protests, military tension, Thailand negotiating globalization, social media age, changing values, the young generation rejecting old certainties. This version breaks every single rule. Genre, horror comedy, the first time Mae Nak was played for laughs. Perspective, told from Mak's point of view with 4 soldier friends. Tone, irreverent, self-aware, making fun of horror tropes. The ending, completely revolutionary. Mak discovers Nak is a ghost and chooses to stay with her anyway. They live together happily ever after. Ghost and human coexisting peacefully. No monk, no exorcism, no subduing, just acceptance. Box office, over 1,000 million baht, documented as the highest grossing Thai film of all time, a record that still stands. International hit across entire Asia. Mae Nak became a global brand.
What does this reveal about Thailand in 2013? Society wants happy endings, not tragedies. Wants acceptance of otherness, the ghost as a metaphor for anyone different. Wants to laugh at what previous generations feared. Wants to believe conflicts can be resolved peacefully, not violently. Rejects the idea that powerful women must be controlled. Imagines a world where difference is celebrated, not destroyed.
The pattern is crystal clear across 32 versions. Thai film archives document over 32 adaptations from 1936 to present, an unprecedented number of remakes for a single legend. The post-war era needs order and tradition. It gets a scary ghost that must be subdued. The economic crisis needs eternal love. It gets a romantic tragedy where love survives loss. The modern era needs acceptance and hope. It gets a comedy with a happy ending. This isn't random. It isn't coincidence. Filmmakers intuitively understand what their generation needs to hear, what anxieties need addressing, what hopes need affirming. The box office proves they're right. Audiences vote with their wallets for the version that speaks to their moment. 1959, Tradition wins, 1 million baht. 1999, Love wins, 149 million. 2013, Acceptance wins, 1,000 million. Same basic story, but the emphasis shifts dramatically. Gender propaganda is still there, but backgrounded or subverted. Military criticism is still there, but softened or made comedic. Religious conflict is still there, but resolved differently or ignored. Core meanings don't disappear. They get rearranged, re-emphasized. Will Thailand remake Mae Nak again? Absolutely, guaranteed, because the underlying tensions remain completely unresolved. Gender roles are still hotly debated, feminism versus tradition. Military conscription still exists. Families are still torn apart. Religious identity is still negotiated. Buddhism and animism still coexist uneasily. Love and loss still hurt. Death still separates people. Power imbalances still exist. State, religion, and gender hierarchies persist. As long as these problems continue, Mae Nak will be remade. The next version will reveal what future Thailand fears and hopes for. The legend evolves because the culture evolves, but the core anxieties remain surprisingly constant. That's why after 32 versions, the story still works, still resonates, still makes money, still matters. Return to that shrine we visited in episode 1. Now you understand what you're really witnessing. It's not simple superstition, it's sophisticated cultural negotiation in action. A young man places a military conscription card at Mae Nak's feet. That's secret number 2 playing out in real time. Resisting state power through supernatural appeal. Prayer as protest against a policy he cannot challenge directly. A woman in an elegant Thai silk dress prays for lasting love. That's secret number 1. Seeking an ideal relationship by invoking the ultimate ideal wife. Negotiating what devotion means in a modern context. Buddhist monks walk past while people pray to a ghost. That's secret number 3. 2 religious systems coexisting. Uneasily, but functionally. Neither fully winning, neither fully losing. These aren't ignorant people engaging in meaningless ritual. They're participating in a 150-year-old conversation about power, gender, duty, love, and death, using the tools their culture provides. The shrine isn't just a religious site, it's a political site, a space where people can express things they cannot say directly. Cannot protest conscription law openly? Pray to Mae Nak instead. Cannot challenge gender expectations? Identify with a powerful ghost who refused to obey. Cannot practice animism as equal to Buddhism? Call it paying respects to a legend. Cannot criticize the state for tearing families apart? Ask a ghost to protect from the same fate. The Thai government not only allows this, it actively maintains the shrine. Why? Because it's safer than the alternatives. Better people pray to a ghost than protest in the streets.
Better they channel anger through ritual than through politics. Mae Nak absorbs social tension that might otherwise explode. She functions as a pressure release valve, lets people express discontent without threatening the system. That's why authorities don't shut it down. That's why it's protected, even encouraged. It's useful to the power structure, even while being a site of resistance to that same power. What can a global audience take from Mae Nak analysis? First critical lesson: folklore is never just stories, never just entertainment or just tradition. It's how societies process what they cannot address directly. Every single culture does this. American urban legends encode anxieties about modernity, technology, and strangers. European fairy tales negotiate class systems, gender roles, and colonization. African myths process colonial trauma and cultural survival. Japanese ghosts express war guilt and atomic trauma. Latin American folklore addresses conquest, identity, and mestizaje. The specific symbols change: ghosts, witches, monsters, heroes. But the function remains constant across all cultures. Stories carry meanings too dangerous, too complex, or too controversial for direct speech. Folklore is society talking to itself, working through problems it hasn't solved. You now have an analytical framework you can apply anywhere to your own culture's recurring stories. Ask these questions. Why does this story get retold repeatedly while others fade? What's the surface meaning versus the hidden meaning? Who has power in this story, and who gets controlled or punished? What social tensions does it address indirectly? What cannot be said directly that gets said symbolically? How do different versions reflect different time periods? Every culture has its Mae Nak, a story that won't die because the problems it addresses won't die. Now you know how to decode it, how to read beneath the surface, how to understand what your culture is really saying to itself. So, why won't Mae Nak die? Because Thailand's conversation isn't finished. The gender equality debate continues. She'll be remade to address it. Military service is still mandatory. She'll be remade to resist it. Old and new religions still negotiate. She'll be remade to mediate. People still die. Love still hurts. Loss still devastates. She'll be remade to comfort. Power imbalances persist. She'll be remade to protest. The next version might emphasize a completely different secret, might add new meanings we haven't imagined yet, might resolve tensions in ways we can't predict. But she will keep coming back, guaranteed. And when that next remake appears, whether in 2026 or 2030 or 2040, you'll know exactly what to look for. What does this version emphasize that previous ones didn't? What has changed in Thailand since the last version? What do those changes tell you about society right now? Mae Nak is Thailand's mirror, reflecting what it fears, what it hopes, what it cannot resolve. As long as there's something to reflect, she'll be there. She's eternal. Not because she's a ghost, but because she's needed. And what's needed never dies. Every culture has a story it must keep telling. A story that won't die because the problems it addresses won't die. For Thailand, it's Mae Nak. What's yours? What story does your culture remake again and again and again? What's it really about? What can't be said directly that gets said through that story? Now you have the tools to find out. Look beneath the surface, decode the symbols, understand the hidden meanings, read the pattern of retellings. Because folklore isn't the past, it's the present, talking to itself, trying to figure itself out, negotiating what it cannot resolve. Mae Nak has been talking for 150 years, 32 versions and counting. She's not done yet, and neither is Thailand.
And that's the end of another otherworldly story. Please remember to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to not miss a thing. Thanks for joining us.
Until next time, stay curious and keep an eye on the shadows.